You guys ever heard of Genghis Khan? Well, we're gonna go to his country. That's right, folks, we're off to Mongolia. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back. I do apologize, it's been a very long time since we made a video. I think it's been over 2 weeks since we introduced another video, and I do apologize for that. We've just been crazy busy. Lots of training flights, lots of flying, lots of other things. So finding the time to make our way into the cockpit and into the simulator and record a new video has been a little bit challenging lately, but today we did find the time, and here we are, and we're gonna continue today on our journey around the world in an Airbus A320. And as I said in the intro, today we're continuing from where we are in Tibet, and we're off to Mongolia. Yes, so Mongolia basically sits right between where we are right now and China. So it's gonna be a very interesting flight for us to do. And currently I am in Tibet at the Tibet Airport, International Airport, which is Lhasa Gonggar Airport, and that's Zulu Uniform Lima Sierra for those of you who want the code. And this is, as you can see, a high altitude airport. I'm sitting on the ground, but right over here my altimeter says 11,760 feet. So I am pretty much at one of the highest airports, highest elevation airports in the world, if not the highest. I have no idea. So yep, here we are. And there's been a change. Like I said last time, there's going to be a little bit of an update, which is right over here. If you come and you push data and aircraft status, we are now running CFM engines. So we've got the Leap 1A engines on board on board our simulator right now. So our good old Alpha Mike November has been updated to CFM engines. And you know, apart from a few variations in the numbers, I don't really see any differences, honestly speaking, with the exception that you know, like the N2 will spool up a lot more longer before it introduces the fuel, and then the engines, you know, the combustion in the engines start. There's just one or two differences right over here. Like when I choose the auto brakes, it now shows up over here as well, kind of a bit of a software update. And with the exception that these engines obviously are supposed to make the aircraft a lot more economical, I don't see any difference, not in the flying at least. And but yeah, she's working very well, and it's a joy to fly with these new engines. And yeah, so we're just going to do that today. And yes, what else do I tell you? Yeah, we're going to be flying over to Mongolia. Now the airport in the capital of Mongolia is Ulaanbaatar. That's a very nice sounding name, Ulaanbaatar. And we're going to their main international airport, which is Genghis Khan International Airport. And I don't know if you like the guy or you don't like the guy, but nonetheless, he has an airport named after him. And the ICAO code today is Zulu Mike Charlie Kilo. And it's an airport that sits right in between here, Tibet, and China. And we made the decision to go east and then make our way down south, so that we can cover up all of Asia before we make our way westward towards the Indian Ocean and onwards towards Africa and so on. So that's what we're going to do today, guys. Thank you so much for all of your messages, and some of you actually messaged me asking me if I was okay because I hadn't introduced a video in a long time. So I do apologize for that. And thank you guys for checking in on us. We're doing very well over here in Dubai. We're now going into our winter in Dubai, so the weather is absolutely beautiful outside. And yeah, yes, we also are going to do a little bit of a tutorial today. So I did have an inquiry, a comment from one of the subscribers asking if I could do a focus on the memory items that pilots have in the Airbus A320. So today I'm going to do that. So I'm going to be very focused in showing you exactly what the memory items are from a pilot flying and a pilot monitoring perspective. All right, what does the pilot fly do, what the pilot monitoring do? I'm sure you've seen this in our previous videos, but today I'm going to focus on it and guide you guys on exactly what we do in a multi-crew environment. Even though I don't have first officer, he's kind of invisible today, but I'll make it happen, guys. All right, so let's get on towards our flight briefing, and let's see what we get from what we have to do today. All right, guys, thank you so much. For those of you who are not subscribed, if it's your first time here, welcome. And for those of so if you like what you see, consider clicking that subscribe button. Please don't forget to like the video if you do like it, and it's really going to help our channel. And for those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much. God bless every single one of you. All right, enough wasting time. Let's jump in and let's do our flight briefing. See you guys at flight ops. All right, guys, here we are. We've just plugged in all the details into SimBrief, and as you can see, we are going from Gonggar Airport in Tibet to Genghis Khan, or Chinggis Khan. I've always heard it say Genghis Khan. So Genghis Khan International Airport in Mongolia. We are Alpha 6 Alpha Mike November, which is an A20 November, which is the sign for a Airbus A320 NEO, which is pretty cool. And as you can see, our takeoff weight has also increased by 1 ton. We are now 79 tons maximum takeoff weight thanks to these more powerful engines. Looking at our weights today, we're looking at a zero fuel weight of 64,300 tons, fully loaded, 186 passengers, not 180, 186. And looking at the flight plan, our alternate today is Uniform India Uniform, which is basically Baikal International Airport in Russia. So привет to all my Russian friends out there. In case we have any trouble, we're coming over to you guys. But yeah, nonetheless, we're looking to take about 11,125 kilograms of fuel. We've got a ground distance to cover of 1,573 nautical miles, so around about 3.5 hours of flying, so to speak. And looking at the flight plan, it looks like we're going to take off on runway 09 left using the Delta Mike 01 Delta SID over to Delta Mike, which I guess is going to be an NDB, and then onto the Whiskey 9 airway, and away we go off towards Mongolia. All right, I just wanted to have a look at the airport here. So as you can see, we're parked right over here, and it's going to be an easy it's going to be a pretty much an easy that's the route, by the way, we're going to take. So as I zoom in on our map, we're currently parked at gate number 14, which is right over here. So it's going to be a quick taxi. We push back, nose to the right, and we'll take Tango to Alpha 1 and then line up with the runway, and then away we go. So yeah, in Zulu Uniform Lima Sierra, we're going to go ahead and pick the departure that we have, which is the Delta Mike 01 Delta. So Delta Mike 01 Delta, I'm going to pin that into the thing right over there. So I am referring to plate number 10-3, effective the 8th of September at 1600 Zulu. It's an SID for Lhasa. It's a province of China. And as you can see, the Delta Mike 01 Delta has us pretty much taking off on runway direction. And then at about 16,410 feet above sea level, with a 5.2% gradient climb, we make a slight right hand turn 110 degrees, and then we're out towards Delta Mike, which is in fact an NDB, the Zedang NDB. All right, and then we're jumping onto the airways and we're out of here. Okay, in case of return, we can come back to either do a visual approach. The weather is really good today. The weather today in Lhasa at Gonggar Airport, It's VFR conditions right now. Scattered clouds, 18 degrees Celsius. Winds are 170 at 9 knots with 10 kilometers plus of visibility, no clouds. And a QNH today of 1025. So the weather's looking pretty good right now for what we need to do. So yeah, I don't think we're going to have, weather's not going to be a problem, so we can come back, do a visual if we need to. All right. And in terms of taxi, we've already covered. It's going to be a quick taxi via Tango, then Alpha 1. And we look to be cruising at about 37,000 feet today. What I saw in there was going to be 37,100 feet. All right, because it's going to be in meters, and I'll give you the actual number in meters later. In fact, if I could do a quick calculation right now, 37,100 would be at about 11,300 and 308 meters. All right, so that's pretty much what we're set to. All right, and yep, in case we need to fly over to the alternate, that's the details we're going to use to get there. And finally, we're going to look into our performance information. So as you can see, we're using the 251 November, which is a A320 NEO. I've put in our gross weight, our CG. We're going to use a flaps 2 takeoff today. Anti-ice and air conditioning will be off for this takeoff because I really need to get as much power as I can. And after that, it's going to be a V1 of 180, a VR of 180, and a V2 of 183. Okay, and it's going to be a toga takeoff, full power takeoff today. So that's pretty much set on what we have to do. I've got my details. I'm going to go back into the cockpit now. I'm going to program everything in, and I'll get back to you guys when we're just ready for push and start. All right, see you guys there. Alright guys, we're back in the cockpit and everything is programmed in pretty much. All we gotta do now is just cross check. So I came into the MCDU, I put our details in, including our alternate as well. We've got our flight number in there, cost index, cruise and altitude. Flight plan is done. It says we're going to get there with 1.3 tons, but that number should increase, and we got 1,593 nautical miles to go. Everything's programmed in along the way for our routing information, so we're looking pretty good over there. Secondary flight plan has been programmed to bring us back onto a visual of runway 09 left here in Tibet. And looking at our performance today, you can see that we're doing a flaps 2 takeoff with a trim of up 0.8, toga takeoff, no flex. And those are our speeds. Thrust reduction acceleration is 13,211 feet, which works out to about 1,500 feet above sea level. So that's pretty much done. So now gonna come back to plan, come back to about 10 miles, and QNH 1025, constraints on this guy's side as well. Set on the altitude, and everything is pretty much ready to go. I am gonna squawk 2105 today, and we are pretty much ready to go. So what we can do now is the cockpit preparation checklist, which is gear pins and covers. They are removed. The fuel quantity is checked. We've got 11,100 tons on board, and not tons, 11,100 kilos on board the aircraft. Seatbelt signs, they are coming on now, and the others are set as well. And the ADIRSs are in nav as they should be, and the barrel reference is 1025 cross-checked. So all good, all set. All we got to do now is just prepare our memory items. So the first set of memory items that you do when you're preparing for pushback is the pilot flying will now turn on the beacon, and you can also get the strobes to auto if you like. And that's going to be an indication to everybody on the ground to remove their equipment, remove the aero bridge, remove themselves and make way for the aircraft to be pushed back and for the engines to be started. So pilot flying, memory item number 1 will be to get the beacon going, and then both pilots, pilot flying and pilot monitoring, will check We'll check their harnesses and seat belts and everything, make sure that the windows on either side of the cockpit are closed and locked and secured. We'll check the cabin, that that they're secured and that the slides have been armed. And then after that, once we've done that and we've got the pushback and start clearance, we can then go ahead and do the before start checklist. So the before start checklist is parking brake, which should be on. It is on. And the takeoff speeds and thrust, they are set in the box and also indicating on the primary flight display. The windows and doors are closed. So you see, it was a memory item to do, and now we have a checklist asking us if we did those memory items. So it's pretty cool, you know. So if you don't remember your memory items, just check the next checklist. It might tell you what your memory items are going to be. A little cheat for you guys. And then the beacon, which is also a memory item. The checklist is asking if the beacon is on. We did it as a memory item. It is on. So checklist just make sure we did it correct. So memory items are now complete, and all that's left to do now is request a push and start from these guys over here, and then we're gonna get going. So I'm gonna request a push and start, and I'll get back to you when we're just about to start these engines. All right, give me a second. All right, so we've had them remove the aero bridge and also external power to the aircraft. So yep, bridge has been taken away, and they're just doing their final checks. And now the nice lady who's going to do the pushback should ask me to remove the parking brake. So disarm the parking brakes.
Release parking brakes, please.
There she is. All right, releasing parking brakes. Off time is 12:14 local time, and lift and twist.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
All right, so we're starting the push. Here we go. We're moving. I'm going to start engine number 2 now. So pilot flying will go ahead, put this to ignition start, and up and forward. And the N2 is now rotating, and you can see usually in the olden days, I mean not olden days, in the standard CFM engines, or what we call the CEO engines, by about now 25-26% it would have introduced the fuel. But with the NEO, it tends to spool the engines up till somewhere around 31%, and then it kicks the fuel in. So that is one of the differences you're going to see. It actually takes longer to start the NEO engines than it does with the CEO or the IAE for that matter. So we're spooling. It's spooling ever so slowly, building up the pressure. There we go, 29%.
Please set parking brakes.
Okay, I'll set the parking brakes.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
All right, and there you go. At about 31.8, 31.9%, the fuel came in. And now we've got the EGT rising. The N2 is rising, and the N1 is starting to spool as well. And let's see at what percentage of N2 the starter will cut out. In the CEO engines, it would usually cut out at around so this one was at about 58%, and that's cut out. So that's good. So we have a good engine start on number 2. We can go ahead and start number 1. Lift and in, same procedure. Starting engine number 1 now. There's the guy. He's pushing away from us. By the way, we also have another update where...
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
You don't say. Okay.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Wow. Thank you. All right. So the new update we have is in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Usually, it takes the terrain information and all the data for terrain and stuff from Microsoft Bing. Yeah, thank you, nice lady. But this time, we have an update that's allowing us to take data directly from Google Earth. So, so yeah, that's pretty much what we're using right now. So I hope the terrain and the views are going to be even better. It's currently noontime in Tibet right now at the time of this recording. We're using live weather, live time. So let's see what happens. All right, so engine number 2 just fired on the fuel. HET is rising, N2 is rising, N1 is rising. And now that the crew are away from the aircraft, it's safe for us to turn on the radars as well. Once we have both engines fully started, so I'm looking at about 58%. There we go, the starter cut out. So now that the engines have started, we have our after start memory items, and those items will be the pilot flying will come over here and put this, the engine mode selected, to normal. Then he or she will go up here, and we don't need the APU anymore. We'll turn off the APU bleed. Then as we're making our way down to the APU, we will check the weather. It's plus 9 degrees, and we look if we have any need for anti-ice. It's 9 degrees, but there's no precipitation, so I do not need any anti-ice, so I can skip past that. And now I come over to engine master off, and then that's the memory items for the pilot flying. The minute that the pilot flying does that, the pilot monitoring, he's gonna go ahead, or she is gonna go ahead, and they're going to arm the speed brakes, reset the rudder trim, set the flap for whatever flap we're using today, which in our case is flaps 2. So gonna go flaps 1, flaps 2, and monitor that the flaps are moving. And once the flaps get into position, then we come over, the pilot monitoring goes to status, checks all status is normal. All right, and can also do the trim, which is up 0.8. So we can just literally shake the side stick a bit, and we go up 0.8 on the trim, which is set. So we set the trim, and then we go for the status normal, all good. And that is the after start memory items for both the pilots. And now the pilot flying will request the after start checklist from pilot monitoring. So the pilot monitoring will read it out. Anti-ice, we don't require it. ECAM status is checked, it's normal. The pitch trim is set to 0.8, which is about 25.5%. And the rudder trim is 0. So that's the after start checklist complete. Now the next memory item we have to do are the flight control checks. All right, so because I'm pilot flying from the left side of the aircraft, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move my side stick full left, and the pilot monitoring will call out full left. As soon as he or she sees that the deflection has happened on the control surfaces, they'll say full left. Then when they say full right, they'll call it out full right, full up, full down, neutral. All right, now we're going to do a rudder check. So we're going to hold down on the rudder disconnect button on the tiller. We're going to go full left, full right, and neutral. And now the pilot monitoring will also check their side stick in silence. Doesn't need to be called out, just to make sure their side stick's working as well. And the rudders we don't need to, because they're mechanically connected. And that is basically the memory items that we have to do. The next thing that the pilot monitoring will do, once we've done the rudder check, they will go ahead and they will do the ECAM memo and push the takeoff config button over here, and we're going to get all takeoff memo all blue. We can then do the before taxi, or rather the taxi checklist, which is flight controls. We check them on both sides. Flap setting config 2. Radar and predictive wind shear can now come on because we're clear of the terminal. That's all set. The engine mode selector should be normal. It is normal. And the ECAM memo is takeoff no blue. So as you can see, the memory items worked out very well for us. We did the memory items. Now we run the checklist to make sure we did it correctly. So that's basically it, guys. Now it's time to do the taxi over to the runway, which is just right over there. I'm gonna taxi over, and then as soon as I'm there, I'll get back to you guys. See you soon. So now that we're taxiing over to the runway, the pilot flying made sure that the nose light was in taxi, runway turnoff was on, gave it a little bit of trust, and now with the use of the tiller, we're basically steering the aircraft and making sure that we're on center line and just taxiing out, while the pilot monitoring is working the radio and making sure that, you know, any instructions given to us are followed. And that's basically how we're going to do that. Now that we're far away from the gate, we can turn on the terrain radar as well, so we can start scanning for the mountains. We can also get the TCAS going, and all that's left to do would be the takeoff checklist, just or rather what we call the lineup checklist, when we get to the runway. So we're coming up over here on the turn. We're reaching Alpha 1 very soon. As you can see on the iPad, there we are. We're gonna make our little turn to the right over here. That's looking good. And now I'm gonna hold short as pilot flying. I'm gonna hold short of the runway, and then we're gonna do the lineup checklist. At this point, the pilot monitoring can tell the cabin crew to be seated for takeoff. Let them strap themselves in the back. I'm gonna stop here, set the parking brake, and now it's time to do the lineup checklist, which is takeoff runway 09 confirmed. Runway 9 is over there, it's confirmed. TCAS has supposed to be on TA and RA, and it is on TA and RA. And PAX 1 and 2, we're doing a PAX 1 and 2 off takeoff today. So now's the time when we will turn off PAX 1 and PAX 2, and we'll turn them on immediately after we take off as well. Alright, so that's the pilot monitoring's duty that he has to do. And pilot flying, as soon as we get the clearance for takeoff or to line up on the runway, we're gonna go ahead, turn on the nose light to take off, runway turn off lights on, and the strobes can stay in auto. I like to put them on. And now we can go ahead, we've finished the lineup checklist, and we can go ahead now and release the parking brakes and line up with the runway. So I'm just gonna do that, and I'll get back to you in just a second when we're about to do the takeoff. Alright, so now we're just making our way onto the runway. Pilot flying on the left, we'll see that it's clear on the left. Pilot flying on the pilot monitoring on the right. We'll make sure the right is clear and that there's no traffic on our TCAS. And then as we line up with the runway, just make sure everything's okay and that we're properly fully lined up. So now it's time to get going, guys. Off to Mongolia we go. So pilot flying is going to go ahead, put his hand on the side stick, give a little bit of forward pressure, and now we're going to go ahead and set 50% in 1. And once it's stable, we're going to call it out all the way to Toga. And pilot flying says takeoff, sets power, and then starts the chrono. And pilot monitoring says check, and the pilot flying will say man Toga SRS auto thrust blue. Pilot monitoring will say check. He'll monitor that the engines have reached our takeoff power, and he'll say takeoff thrust set. He or she, sorry. And then pilot flying is just going to keep user orders. Pilot monitoring calls 100 knots. Pilot flying says checked, making sure that we are at 100 knots as he says. And that's when we centralize the side stick at 100 knots. I have never taken off at this speed before, by the way. Maybe in the military. So here we go. Pilot monitoring will now say V1 and rotate, and here we go. Pulling back on the side stick.
Too low terrain.
Yeah, I kind of get
Too
that.
low terrain.
Alright, and once we climb up, pilot monitoring will pilot flying will call out any changes in his FMA, which in my case is nav. Pilot monitoring will say check. Pilot monitoring will now say positive rate, and the pilot flying will give the command for gear up, which is happening now. So as I continue to hand fly the aircraft, keeping the aircraft on its flight director, keeping it at toga as we fly away. Okay, we got lever climb, so we can now come back. 2 clicks, 1, 2. Okay, thrust climb, auto thrust white. Pilot monitoring says checked to make sure I'm correct. Now when I see the F speed, we can go to flaps 1. So pilot flying will request pilot monitoring, flaps 1 please. And they will look at the speed and say, okay, that's checked, we can do it, and go to flaps 1. And flaps are retracting into 1. And now it's just all about just flying the aircraft and keeping it on the flight director nice and safe. Once we go clean configuration, which is flaps up, the pilot monitoring will have some other memory items to do, which I'll tell you when we get there. Alright, autopilot 1 can now come in. AP1, call it out, they say checked. And now we're gonna turn on pilot monitoring. We'll turn on packs 1 and 2 as we're climbing up. And now the cabin altitude should stabilize as we climb away. So we're going to get to about 210 knots, which is going to get the flaps to auto retract, and then we can go ahead and extend our flaps. I mean retract our flaps. So yep, 210 knots, flaps are going up to 1. And now as you can see, we reach our S speed very soon. So as soon as the pilot flying sees the S speed, he'll say flaps up. Pilot monitoring will check that we're at the correct speed. He'll say speed check and go flaps up. When he goes flaps up, he or she will also disarm the spoilers and turn on the 2 outer lights. And now that we're above 10,000 feet, the pilot monitoring will also have other duties, such as turning off, like retracting the main landing lights, checking the weather. If the weather is good, seatbelt signs can then go off so that the crew can start their service. And also we are going to go airport, and then we come to the secondary flight plan, and we're going to go copy active, and we're going to go radnav, and we're going to auto tune VORs and auto tune the other data as well. And there we go. And that is how we do that. So from this point on, both pilots get to relax, enjoy the views. And now we're just going to climb up to our cruising altitude. So today we're looking at our optimums of flight level 340. So I'm actually going to set 340, request it and set 340. And from that point on, I'm going to go number 1 and put it there, so it'll sync with 340. And now all that's left to do is just monitor the systems and watch the aircraft, while the pilot monitoring make sure the aircraft is while pilot monitoring works the radio. Pilot flying just focuses on the autopilot and make sure it's doing everything we want it to do, guys. So we're currently 17,300 feet and climbing, and that's about 5,200 meters and climbing as well, above sea level. So yeah, guys, that's how we do that. I'll get back to you when we're in our cruise. And here we are, guys, coming up on flight level 340. So that should change to alt cruise very soon. There we go, alt cruise, mark, and we are at our cruising altitude right now, which is flight level 340, exactly at the optimums. We're going to keep monitoring this, and as it climbs, we're going to go up in even numbers since we're heading east. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. As of right now, both pilots can get a chance to relax and yeah, maybe even order some coffee. So yeah, gonna order some coffee and then relax, and I'll get back to you guys. Now I've got about 1,237 miles to go, and I have a beautiful tailwind pushing me along. I got a true ground speed of 498 knots, true airspeed of 455. So I should be there in about 3 hours or so. Oh, less than 3 hours. So yeah, and I'm about 21 minutes into my flight since I took off. So what's going to be a few seconds for you guys is going to be about 2 or something hours for me. So I'll get back to you guys when I'm about 200 miles away from Mongolia, and then we'll start thinking about the descent and the approach that we're gonna do. So yeah, just gonna sit back, relax, enjoy my coffee, enjoy these beautiful views. Whole lot of nothing with the exception of snow-capped mountains over here in Tibet. So yeah, the beauty of flying, I tell you guys. All right, get back to you guys when we're about to start planning for descent and approach. See you guys soon. Hello. So just as a situation report, or as a sit rep as we like to call it, we're now at flight level 350, because when you're flying northeast, you fly at odd numbers. So we're at 35,000 feet, flight level 350. Currently in a headwind of 46 knots, and got a true airspeed of 448 and a ground speed of 419. And right over there, that little blue ring you see, that represents 200 miles away from Mongolia. So from Ulaanbaatar. And yeah, we're just, all systems are good. Just did our fuel checks, everything's okay. Still got 5.5 tons on board the aircraft. Looking to have about 2.9 tons when we get there. And we've got 524 track miles to go. So track miles means this plus this plus this plus this, all the way down to landing. Those are track miles. So yeah, and I've been sitting here for 2 hours and 19 minutes. So yeah, it's all good. So all I have to do now is just wait just a little bit longer, and then I'll be able to start the descent and approach briefing and preparations. And looking out the window, it's beautiful out there. Sun's starting to set. It's about 4 o'clock local time where we are right now. It's about, that's 8:45. It's 8:45 UTC time right now. So yeah, just relaxing and looking at our EFB. You can see that we're on our way to Gobind right now, and then it's all the way down there towards Mongolia, and that should match what we see right here. So right on our way, there's Gobind right there, a few mountains in the range. No weather whatsoever to speak of, just pure calm up here. Alright guys, so I still have a few hundred miles to go before I can get back to you with a approach and descent and approach briefing. So see you guys soon. Don't forget to like the video if you like it so far, and subscribe if you haven't already. See you guys soon. Alright, we are crossing the 200-mile marker, exactly 3 hours on the dot, and we're just coming up below 200 miles away from Ulaanbaatar. So now it's time to jump onto the computer and have a look at the weather, have a look at the approaches, and see what we can make of it. All right, so let's jump in and let's plan our descent and approach into Ulaanbaatar. All right, here we are looking at our little profile here. As you can see, we've made our way towards the northeast, and we're right over here right now, just off Madal. And looking at the weather, so if I bring up Ulaanbaatar, Genghis Khan International Airport, first we're going to look at the weather. So with this very nifty little app that Navigraph has, we can see the weather right over here. So the weather is just 26 minutes ago this was updated, and we're looking at winds at 070, 5 knots, and it's going to, well, 5 meters per second actually, and then a cav okay conditions with a temperature of minus 4 degrees and a dew point of -6 with a QNH of 1010. So the temperatures are looking cold to say the least. Now looking at the airport, if we go to the 20-9 plate effective the 5th of October for Genghis Khan, you can see that we've got runways 11 and runways 29. So given that the weather is out of 070, runway 11 makes more sense, and it's a 11,811 foot runway, 3,600 meters long, and the airport sits at 4,485 feet above sea level. So coming over to the charts over here, we've got an RN, for runway 11 RNP, VOR Zulu, and a VOR Yankee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the RNP. So with the RNP, what happens here is it's effective the 6th of October, plate number 22-1, RNP for runway 11. Now the Airbus has also got a system called FLS. And the FLS system, basically, when you're doing an RNAV or an RNP approach, it can create a virtual localizer and glide slope for us. So I'm going to be attempting to use that today as well for the approach. And basically, the final approach course is 110 with a mandatory altitude of 6,890 for the final approach fix. And the minimum, so the minimum safe altitude in the western sector is 7,900, 9,900 in the northeast, and 8,900 in the southeast. So we're basically flying into an area where there's mountains. And the approach will begin at Charlie Kilo 112, 7,880 feet, 109 degrees, down to the final approach fixed altitude of 6,890 at Charlie Kilo 111, and then we're going to head down towards our minimums of 5090 today, which is about 605 feet above ground level. So that's going to be the approach that we're going to do today into Genghis Khan International Airport. And the missed approach procedure would be to climb direct to Charlie Kilo 101, turn right direct to Charlie Kilo 299er, and hold at 8,860 feet. Here we go, right there. That's our that's going to be our go around procedure. Then we'll hold and then probably come back and then try again for the landing if at all we're not able to land. Looking at the airport vicinity, we'll land on runway 11, which is right over here, and then we'll probably try to exit at Charlie. If not, we'll exit over here at Delta and then on to Foxtrot, and then we'll come and park over here in the Alpha 15 area where the gates are. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the approach. The runway is 11,800 feet, so auto brakes low will be more than enough for this approach, and the weather's dry, so we're looking good. All right, now given that we need to descend down to an altitude of 6,890 feet, that is going to work out to, let's just say, 6,900 feet. We're currently at 35,000 feet. We need to come down to 6,900. All right, we're going to multiply that by 3, and we're going to add 5 just for safety, and that's going to give us 89. So 90 miles away from Ulaanbaatar is when we're going to start our descent down towards our minimums. Okay, so that's the plan, guys, that we're going to do to get down and safely onto the ground in Ulaanbaatar. It looks like it's going to be a sunset landing, so yay. And yeah, time to get back in the cockpit and let's program all of this in. See you guys there. Alrighty, time to start preparing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and I'm going to do the hat. Alright, so the hat starts with the flight plan page. Initially I put runway 29, but now I'm going to change that. Arrival, I'm gonna go for the VOR. No, I want the RNAV for runway 11. No stars, and we're gonna go via Charlie Kilo 114, I believe. Yeah, actually we can go via Charlie Kilo 115, right over there. And after that, I'm going to insert that in. We should put this on here. Alright, so as we cycle through, you can see that we'll go, actually, sorry, my bad. I need to change this to Via's Charlie Kilo 113, the other side. My mistake. Alright, here we go. So now as we cycle through, we are going to now make a direct to Charlie Kilo 113, 8,800 feet, and then we'll make the turn and intercept the runway from there. All right, so let's just say that what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go from present position, and I'm gonna go direct to, and I'm gonna select Charlie Kilo 113 and insert it, and now we're navigating straight to Charlie Kilo 113. All right, so that's done on the flight plan page. 145 miles to go. Rat nav, we do have a VOR, which is the Sierra Echo Romeo VOR. So I'm gonna put SER over there, choose the first one, SER on the top over there as well, choose the first one. And what's next? Yes, the next thing to do would be the progress page. Zulu Mike Charlie Kilo 11, put that there so we get the exact bearing and distance. On the performance page, I'm gonna go here to the approach page, and looking at the weather information right now, QNH is 1010. The temperature is negative, so you're just gonna push that button there, and 4 is the temperature. The winds are out of 070 and about 4 meters per second, and our barrel reference is 5090. So 5090 in there, put it in. All right, now we come down to the fuel prediction page. Everything's looking good, and expected to have about 2.4 tons when we get there. Secondary flight plan, copy, active, and we're good to go, guys. Now I will come back to the flight plan page, and I'm going to go to the fix info, and I'm going to put Zulu Mike Charlie Kilo 11. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put a radius of 90 miles around it. 90 on the radius, so I have a 90-mile marker away from the airport, so I know when I should start my descent. And I am also going to put the airport direction, which is the radial in of 290. There we go, and that's it. We're set. Everything is done. There's the radial to the runway right over there, so we're gonna go and then make the turn and join the approach. And as soon as we cross the 90-mile marker, we will be doing that. So I can close my laptop, put that away. All the programming is done. And yep, everything's looking good. I'm just gonna come over here, and I'm gonna choose that and put that over there so that I'll be able to see myself on the chart. Also, this is an auto brakes low landing. All right, so guys, that's about it. Looks like we're probably gonna land after sunset, but overall it's beautiful. So get back to you guys when we're getting close and about to start the approach. See you guys soon. All right, everything is done. We've started our descent. We're right on our profile, heading down to 6,800 feet. And yeah, time to get the seatbelt signs on. And since we're going down to below transition, which is 9,850 feet, we're going to set the QNH now, which is QNH 1010. Push that in, 1010. And now what we can do is, since we've got the QNHs going as well, we can go ahead and do the approach checklist, which is barrel reference QNH 1010, crossing 27,400 now, cross-checked, and seatbelt signs are on. Minimums are 5090 as per the charts, and auto brakes are set to low, and the engine mode selector is normal. So approach checklist complete, landing checklist to go. All that's left now is to just monitor that the aircraft stays on its profile, making sure we're going to get to the correct altitude at the correct time at the correct waypoint, and then we take it from there. So get back to you guys in just a few minutes. Well, a few minutes for me, a few seconds for you guys. Please like and subscribe, please. Alright guys, as you can see now, we're just about to cross below 10,000 feet. And as you can see right here on the iPad, we're coming up on Charlie Kilo 113, and then we're going to make a right-hand turn. So now I'm going to show you what the pilot monitoring is going to do once we get. So I need to make sure we don't bust through the altitude of 250 knots above 10,000. I'm going to go ahead and activate the approach phase, and I'm just literally going to push the level off here. Got vertical speed 0. Want to get my speed down. And now I can continue with the descent as well. So yeah, speed brakes coming back in, and we're looking good. So the aircraft is slowing down as well as targeting our profile. Now we're below 10,000, so what the pilot monitoring will do at this point is turn on the landing lights, get the seatbelt signs going if they're not already on. We have no need for anti-ice because the temperatures are still +5 degrees and there is no precipitation in front of us, no clouds. And we need to turn on the ILS, check the rad navs that they're all good, all set, and we're pretty much good to go. Now look at this. The FLS system is basically what we call FMS landing system. So in the event that you are going to do an approach that is not an ILS approach, you can get the you can use the FLS system, and it creates a virtual glide slope and localizer to help you fly the aircraft. So this is an RMP approach, but the Airbus system is so smart, it's created based off the FMS data, it's created a localizer and a glide slope. So now as we're starting the turn, I'm going to deploy the speed brakes, help us slow down because we are just 12 miles away. And on the descent, so now I'm going to arm the approach and the and as you can see here, FGS and FLOC, which is FMS glide slope and FMS localizer. The aircraft is now targeting the runway, which is coming up straight ahead. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to issue flaps. I'm going to request flaps 1. Pilot monitoring will check at the speed and go for flaps 1. We also need to get the landing gear down as soon as possible so that we can start slowing the aircraft down. So non-standard gear down is coming. As long as we're below 240 knots, we can get the gear down. Here comes the gear. So now that we're on the F glide slope and the F localizer, the go around altitude is 8,860. I'm gonna put 8,900 in there just for safety. And now we're established on the localizer and glide slope, the virtual localizer and glide slope, and the speed is good now for flaps 2. So I'm going to request pilot monitoring, flaps 2. He or she will say speed check and go ahead and pull the flaps. Flaps 2 now. And we're looking good. As long as we get fully configured before 1,000 feet AGL, we are good to go. We're just 2,000 feet now. Flaps 3, speed checked, and we've got flaps 3. And also when the gear goes down, the pilot monitoring will also arm the speed brake and turn on the 2 outer lights and tell the cabin crew to be seated. Flaps full now, and we're fully configured. We can now do the landing checklist, which is the ECAM memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist completed. We are clear to land, guys. And we're on our way in. So the FLS system is doing an amazing job. Like usually the RNAV will capture the GPS points and do the descent based off GPS coordinates, and then at minimums it's gonna disconnect and stuff. So with the FLS, it just makes it so much more easier for us to just intercept and land. So yeah, I've got the runway in sight. The aircraft is nice and stable. The approach is stable. Everything's looking good. All we gotta do now is land. All right. Looking good. 1,000 checked, fully configured, fully stable. Everything's looking nice. Winds are 0.84, 5 knots right now. All right, autopilot is coming off as of right now. Autopilot is off.
100 above.
Just gonna follow the flight directors in. And go visual also as well. Got a nice look at the runway.
Minimum.
Minimums continue. It is properly dark here.
500.
Shut.
400.
Slightly
300.
low on the virtual glide slope. Correcting for it.
200.
Glide slope.
Yeah, disregard.
Glide slope.
Okay, coming in.
Glide slope.
Here we go. Nice and steady.
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
Engines are retard. And we're just stabilizing with the rudders, and we're going full reverses now. And now the pilot monitoring will call out spoilers, reverse is green, and decel as we see the speed dropping down. And then the pilot monitoring will call out 70 knots when we get there, which is now 70 knots, and I will bring it to idle reverse, cancel the auto brakes, and just get ready to exit to the left. So just massaging the brakes just a little bit, and now I can go full idle on the thrust levers, and we're going to go ahead and make our turn. I believe we'll be able to exit over at Charlie, the next one. So we managed to slow down in time. Anyway, it's a long runway, so yeah, good for us. Okay, where's that taxiway? I do not see it. It'll come sooner or later, I hope. Good thing with the lights going. I was actually looking for an airport model of Genghis Khan International Airport, but I couldn't quite find one. So if you guys know of one, let me know so that I can so that I could download it and install it onto this. So I guess I'm gonna be exiting at the end of the runway. Let's bring up the airport chart. Yep, I'll exit at the very end of the runway. That will definitely take us where we want to go. And then I'll show you the memory items for when we do an after landing, or what we do before the after landing checklist. So I actually ended up coming all the way to the end. I do see a taxiway, so it's not very well modeled, guys, so you'll have to bear with me. Here we go. And we make the turn onto this tarmac over here. There we go, there's the center line of that tarmac, and as soon as I cross the whole short lines, well, I'm gonna get the lights going now. And we're just gonna go down. This is gonna be taxiway Foxtrot all the way down to the end. There we go. And now what the pilot monitoring, what the pilot flying does is he will disarm the spoilers, turn off the landing lights, nose light to taxi, strobes if they're on to auto or off. The pilot monitoring will go ahead and retract the flaps, turn off the TCAS, turn off the weather radar, and start the APU in preparation for when we get to the gate. And now we can do the after landing checklist, which is radar predictive wind shear. It is off on all sides. So after landing checklist completed. Alright guys, I'm gonna go find a gate and I'll get back to you just when we reach there. See you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived. So we just parked at the gate. I'm sorry I don't have a detailed I don't have a detailed airport, so, and it's pretty dark out here in Mongolia. So yeah, we just parked at the gate, so now we just make sure parking brake's on. I'm gonna go ahead, shut down engine 1, shut down engine 2. So when the pilot monitoring does that, the pilot when the pilot flying shuts down the engines, and he will then turn off the beacon, wait for the engines to spool before below 10% N1, and then seatbelt sign can go off, and then the pilot monitoring will turn off the fuel pumps, and we can now do the parking checklist, which is parking brakes and chocks. They are on, engines are off, as you can see there. The wing lights are off, and the fuel pumps are off, and that's the parking checklist. You can also turn off the ILSs and the flight directors. Resets the system, and we stop the chrono. 3 hours and 41 minutes. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this and found it insightful and information rich. So guys, if you liked the video, please click like and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And thank you so much for watching. We're back, and I hope we'll have time to do more videos for you. If there's anything in this video that you want to learn about more, maybe the FLS system or whatever, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comments below. We reply to every single one of them. And if you can, or if you feel like it, we do have a membership section as well. So if you'd like to support us and what we do, you can click on the join button down there and become a member, and that will help our channel keep us going, help us run this and pay for all these parts. But guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. Thank you for flying with us. God bless every single one of you. Have a good day, and bye-bye.
Hi, do you live in Dubai, or are you in the United Arab Emirates? Are you an aviation enthusiast? Do you play flight simulator on your computer at home? Would you like to have the ultimate experience of flying an Airbus A320 in a real cockpit environment? Or are you a real-world pilot and you're looking to practice for an upcoming airline assessment? Or do you just want to master the Airbus aircraft? Are you a pilot looking to level up your knowledge and experience in instruments and navigation? Or maybe you're thinking of becoming a pilot in the future, but you're not yet sure if this is the path for you. Well, whatever your requirements may be, we're here for you. Book a session in our Airbus A320 flight simulator and come experience flying with a real-world pilot by your side as your instructor, guiding you along every step of the way. All ages are invited. Just scan the QR code or contact us via the details below for more information. See you guys in the cockpit soon.